It is lovely to connect. And I'm I'm excited about this conversation. And so whether you're joining us live or on the replay, one of the things that I want to say right off the bat, I'm not going to be pulling cards in this conversation. And the reason for that is I want to dive into the aspect of numerology that really helps support us in a bigger way. Now, cards are great because they help us to get reflection in the moment, and then it supports this bigger conversation. But understanding our chart and understanding how we are communicating with the universe right now is one of the things that can set your life in a direction that brings more wins. It can bring more expansion. It can bring more joy, more peace, more of what you want. Really, by being able to tap into the incredible wisdom of the psychological influence as well as the emotional and physical influence that the numbers help us to understand. Good morning. Welcome, everyone. It's good to see you here on the live. Hello, hello. Good morning. Oh my goodness. I love seeing all of you here on this beautiful, for me, Saturday morning. And I love this time of year here where I live in North America. I love the seasonality and the experience of I have so many contrasting energies. It's really cold at night, and then it's so sunny and beautiful during the day where I am that it's like I feel really blessed. And I love that from my office window, I can see all the way over to the Red Rocks of Sedona, and it is amazing. Um, yeah, I just feel absolutely blessed to be where I am. And then to be able to be sitting here with all of you having this conversation is amazing. So, good morning. Yes. Yes, open to more pouring in. How do we do that? The only way that we can really let life treat us better, or only way we can really expand, no matter what kind of work we're doing, is for us to be open and aware. If we're not open and we're not aware, then we get fixated on closed ideas. So we think that there's only one way. I was watching a podcast earlier today and I was noticing how one of the participants on the podcast was really closed. They were there with talking points, making sure they were right. And I thought that was so fascinating because I think this is how we go. Sometimes we go into these new year energies feeling like we need to be right about things. We need to have the answers. And, we need to make sure that we've got X, Y, and Z in place so that we don't experience failure or challenges and that nothing interrupts our thinking, right? We think we're safe. I notice that a lot with people who really need to be right about things is it helps them to feel righteous and safe and all of these things. But what it doesn't do is help them grow. It doesn't help them expand. It doesn't help them be healthier. It doesn't help them be wealthier. Sometimes that can occur, right? Some people who are really righteous and accurate can create tremendous amounts of wealth, but what we find is they don't have true wealth because their health is impacted, their well-being is impacted, their happiness is impacted, and money alone is not wealth. So I think it's important for us to put that into proper perspective as we go into today's conversation. The reason I'm sharing this with you isn't because I want to create some, fun, simple anecdotal thing that you'll hear and you'll feel good for a minute and then you'll ignore. I want to invite you to consider it deeper, that there is a natural psychological pattern to things. And when we're open, we can become aware of new things and see things in new ways. So I'm speaking to numerologists who've been studying this for a lot of years, or people who've been, growing for a lot of years. Guess what? Today's a brand new day, and there's something we don't know. There's something we don't understand. And so we move through these cycles in order to trigger that kind of awakening. This preface really is, I'm going a little deeper here because of the kind of year energy that we're walking into. So we're leaving this sixth energy, and this sixth energy has been very much about, hey gang, here's what is. Did you know? Here's what is. And so the exposure of the truth, maybe the truth of what you didn't know was great about you, the truth about what you didn't know was maybe a challenge about you. The same thing with your life, the same thing with your community, your culture, your whatever, the whole entire experience you're having, seeing more of the truth. Now, you're not going to see all of it because it doesn't happen all at once. So truth has been rising up. It will continue to rise up. This year will continue to show you things. And it gets us ready for next year, which is, what will you do with all that truth? What will you do with it? Will you accept it? Will you deny it? Will you suppress it? Will you try to pretend it's not real? So as that arises, you're noticing it. You're seeing it in your own life. You've maybe had to face some things this year. Maybe you had to face some things in your health, or you had to face some things in your family or your relationships or your business. There were things you had to face. And you had to go, okay, is that me or not? Right. And this goes both ways. I certainly am not immune to that. I had to face things about myself that were really great that I was ignoring. I also had to face some things about myself that weren't so great that I was ignoring. So this is all really natural. And that naturally leads to an expansion. So in that expansion, the energy that comes in now, it's starting to come in now as we're in this beautiful dream state energy, as we're getting ready for the new year, as we complete things, as we continue to see things so that we don't deny them. We're not continuing to see things so that we can be shocked into growth, although that might happen for people. It's really happening to affirm, to confirm, yes, this is what is. There's no denial here. Keep going. But we're also feeling the energy coming in today of the new year, which is the seven energy. We're feeling the seven pouring into all of us, especially today, because we have seven ruling energy today, and we have the seven of hearts showing up. We have lots of seven energy saying, guess what? Next year is going to be kind of like what you're feeling today, right? Yeah, so you're saying the past year you faced a lot and it feels so good to have the awareness. Wasn't all unicorns and rainbows, but you definitely feel a huge expansion for the next year. Absolutely. It's there's going to be, a unicorn now and again. That's great. And in fact, if you are open and curious and learning all the time, you'll likely have more unicorns and rainbows than not. But you'll also be okay when it's not there, when it's not that. You can be okay and at peace and to keep moving. So the energy of the seven, first and foremost, is coming in to trigger a sense of self at a new level. That's the desire. So we're going to be talking about today in this conversation how the universal number is influencing us as a whole. And I'm going to do a much larger forecast for the year, but I'm just going to tap into this universal year energy. And then how your individual year energy is being influenced by that, and then creating a ripple effect, a compound effect of these two energies impacting you personally. So there's a universal influence for everyone, and then you're going to receive that and experience it very personally based on your year. So while I'm chatting, you can calculate your year number, your personal year number. So when we look at the universal year number, we're only looking at the year itself, which is going to be 2023. And when we add the numbers together, 2 plus 2 plus 3, we get 7. So we have a universal influence of 7. For us personally, we're going to take that number 7 and we're going to add it to the month we're born and the day we're born. Right? So the month and the day. And we're going to add all of those numbers together. So if you were born on December 2nd, you're going to take the 1 plus the 2 plus the 2. So the 5 plus the 7, right? And then you're going to bring that number together. And then you're going to reduce that number until you get a number between 1 and 9. That's it. So whatever your birthday is, instead of adding your personal year like you would in a ruling number, you're going to add the universal year to it to see how you're being impacted in your annual journey, right? Okay. So let's continue talking about the 7 in general. So everyone is feeling a pull to express themselves more, right? Now, here's where it gets a little tricky, because depending on where you're living consciously, depending on where you're focused, if you're focused in the aspect of the physical world where you're wanting to either get for your own benefit, where you're in that material world of safety and needs and making sure that those things are met and that things look good in the material world, you're going to experience this differently because that's not the self. So I want to be really clear about the self that the universe is inspiring. The self is not trying to make your physical body or your physical life more it. It's not trying to be more of those physical conditions. So the more is looking at something that is bigger than your body and bigger than your life. And it's hard to understand that there are things bigger than that when you look out with your eyeballs or your ears, you're hearing things, you're feeling experiences, you've got all this stuff happening in front of you. That feels bigger than you. It's not. So from the universe's perspective, this physical planet is quite small. It's extraordinarily small compared to the universe. It is a very small thing. And the divine, God, the beyond that, the one, this is a very small piece of reality. It doesn't mean you're small. It just means that the body and the expression, the material world, is the smallest place that can be amplified. It's actually the easiest place. And so if you can make that adjustment in your thinking, you'll understand just how easy manifestation is and just how much the seven is trying to help you with your manifestation in that world. The smaller, less impactful of your reality is the material. There's another aspect of you that can witness that. It's a part of you that isn't your body that can witness. This is the self. So there's a self that's overlooking, that's experiencing the material through the body, can witness it, can see it, can choose thoughts, can interrupt thinking. This is more closely connected to yourself, right? And we have different aspects of ourself. There's actually 3 different versions of ourself, but I won't go too far into that. You just want to get yourself to the place of awareness, the observer. This is why awareness is so important, because your observer is the one who can be aware. Your body cannot. Your life conditions can't be aware. You are aware. This is the self being developed. This is the self that is growing in awareness of itself, acceptance of itself, and then taking action to move more of that part of you into this world, more of the part of you that feels and considers and dreams and experiences through the body. That part of you is where trust flows. That's the part of you that is the self. So your intentions when you move to that place. So number 1, you're being inspired to be aware of that place and then grow in the material world. The growth will occur by growing here, your connection to that self, if that makes sense. So the growth of that potential. I love that. Everybody's figuring out their year. I love that. So if you're just coming onto the call, maybe someone can help you figure out your personal year if you don't know how to calculate that. Yeah. So the experience of this 7 says, I want you to become aware that there's something higher than the material world. Number 1, that's the 7's journey. If we don't know that, that's the big energy for the next year. So those people who are really caught up, connected to the material world as all that exists, they're being triggered out of that to become aware there's something bigger, right? There is some divine energy. There's something, whatever, however you want to label it, there is something that's not your body that is impacting your life. There's some part of you, some aspect of you that isn't this body. There's a part of you that even if you were completely paralyzed would still be here, that has nothing to do with your physical body. It's moving through and animating your experience. This is the number 1 goal. So when we think about this from a collective level, the collective isn't thinking about the consequences of getting there. It's just saying we need to get there. So I'm going to inspire humanity to remember just a little bit more about who they are. And that's why this energy can be amazing and really jarring and frustrating for people, especially in the beginning of their journey. It wants to allow your intentions to arise naturally. So by being aware of this space in you, your intentions arise naturally. So between now and the end of the year, getting really clear about what your intentions are, knowing this part of you so that you can stay connected to that as you move through this next year, that's going to allow for the expansion of you. So first and foremost, the expansion of you in a year 7. And again, the you, that is that energy, the expansion of you. Well, what is expansion of you? You're already expanded. It means the expanded experience of you in this body. More of you connected to and influencing this world. You're becoming the influencer of your life. So instead of trying to be the influencer on social media, 2023 is about becoming the influencer of you, of the universe that is you. This is a very sacred space. You becoming the influencer, not the things outside of you. This is going to be such a big shift for so many people. And even a lot of us who are aware of this, we're going to go to an even stronger awareness of this in 2023. So we're going to be pulled up out of that. Here's some of the traits we're going to develop. So I'm going to go through some of these pieces, and then we're going to add the individual numbers to it. So the traits that are being developed within every single one of us. at a new level. No matter if you have a lot of this trait already, you're just going to have a stronger sense of it. So the trait will be number one, trust. Trust in that self. So for many people, this is a leap, right? Because they have been trusting the outside world and the idea of trusting themselves feels really foreign. Or maybe you've grown a lot and you're trusting yourself. You're going to trust yourself even more. You're going to be able to look at the world and go, awesome. I'm glad you have that opinion. I'm going to do my thing because I know that when I trust me, it works out. When I trust the world, not so much because it's a smaller aspect of reality. I'm going to trust the bigger part of me, the bigger, more expanded part of me that has more information. I'm going to trust that part. So trust is going to expand. Courage is going to expand. Now, courage is going to expand. This is being expanded in the body because the courage comes from that trust. I'm trusting this larger part of me in the body, and now I can take more courageous actions. So I'm going to feel this willingness to take a leap of faith because I have more courage rising up. I know what's true for me, and I'm going to take action on this, which starts to form integrity. So all of these traits form integrity. The other trait that's going to be rising up is truth, a willingness to see truth, which means what I trust in me, who I am, the greater aspect of me is where truth is. That's the truth. What I'm seeing with my eyes cannot be trusted. What I'm hearing with my ears cannot be trusted. What I'm touching with my hands cannot be trusted. It's fleeting. It's always changing. It changes with societal whims. It's not real. There's nothing stable about what you see in the world. Nothing stable. It's always coming undone. What is stable is the information and what's flowing through at a higher level. So all of this, again, integrity, where do I go for the truth? What is truth? Truth's what's flowing through me. Truth is the thing that's been there through every societal change. Through every rise and fall of a leader, there's always been a truth that had nothing to do with what was happening in the world. It had to do with a connection beyond this world. So that truth is coming in. So again, we've got trust, courage, truth. And the last one, which is really powerful, is faith. So faith is like a surrendering to that. I've had an experience. So faith without experience is is wishful thinking. I'm talking about the development of true faith, which is I've had an experience of that. I've had an experience of trusting myself. I've had an experience of my own being able to expand my courage. I have an experience of my own truth. And so I have faith in that. I have a faith in that that I'm willing to be less critical of that voice. I'm going to allow myself to put more faith into it because of the experience I've had. Similar to how we become, we begin to feel more faith in the experiences we're having here, even though they're harder to trust. We have this faith that we have our own best interest at heart. So you begin to have faith in that. You have faith in you and then the something higher, because inevitably this leads to something even higher than this self, although that's what's being developed. Yeah. Beautiful. Look at all these 2 years. I love it. All right. So the inspiration of that, the reason, I think we're starting to understand, why this is occurring. We can look at the conditions, and what's happening is collectively there are conditions. Personally, in your material world, there are conditions that you're experiencing. And those conditions are always observing the natural laws, the universal laws. And the universal law of evolution is always occurring, the continual changing of things. Everything must be in motion. Everything must keep changing, and it needs consciousness in order to create bigger ripples, right? For the co-creation of those changes. So you're being inspired. All of this is happening to not keep creating the same things. So you're seeing what is, and the universe is saying, and it's been awesome. I love everything you've created, but let's do a little bit different. Let's do it a little bit better, different, unique, right? Let's play in a new way. It always wants to shift and change. And so we are deciding what that shift and change will be based on what we're seeing as is in year 6 to the innovation that happens at a year 7. It inspires the innovation. It inspires the leap of faith. You don't have to innovate the whole world. This is a year when universally or throughout our globe, throughout our planet, we're going to be experiencing the inspiration to innovate and change, the inspiration to do different things. We're going to want to stretch. And by the end of the year, we're going to really land into the possible expansion for us. We're going to stretch ourselves and take leaps of faith that by the end of the year will integrate a whole new experience for you personally and collectively. This is going to be the year that changes the collective narrative, the collective experience, the collective story for the coming years. It's going to shift things for the next 7 years, for the next 9 years, really. So it's going to create a movement into what's next, the directionality of it. It's not going to be the complete change, right? There'll be a decade of unfolding. There'll be years of unfolding. And it's the same for your own story. So don't expect everything in your world just because you see that you're willing to change it. Doesn't mean it's all going to shift in this moment. The moment we hit January, it's not going to shift even this year, but it will make have a momentum in that direction so that when you get into the next year, you'll keep going in that direction. Ideally, you wouldn't be making all of the changes at the end of the year. You would allow yourself to take the leaps of faith beginning of the year, keep taking those so that by the end of the year, you're in a direction. You are clearly in one solid direction. Some people may have a little harder time. They may really resist all of these changes, and that will make it hard this year. So if you're resisting the innovations, if you're resisting the changes, these changes can come with really abrupt changes of course, big pivots, right? That you're like, whoa, I didn't see that coming, but are so important to the manifestation of your dream. You can't hold on to everything. So you're being inspired to stretch yourself for your dreams, right? For the things that you want, you, again, remembering who you really are, expanded, right? So the number one thing that will stop that expansion is a dynamic that plays out within the physical body, the ego mind, the physical body, and this self, this higher self. There are layers of this higher self. I'm talking directly about this observer. So as you are shifting away from your material focus into a more whole focus, right? A holistic focus of your life story, what happens is this dynamic begins to play out. A dynamic that's really rooted in the physical body, that the physical body needs a solution for. So this can stop us. The solution is the body says, I have an innate drive. This innate drive is I must belong, but I also must be powerful and individual. So I'm driven by the desire to stand out, to be unique, to create an impact, to be my unique self, to have autonomy over my own story, to be able to do what I want while also belonging. So these are the two aspects of living in the physical body. The ego is adherent to these characteristics. And any trauma you've had interrupts that, right? It disrupts that ability to feel powerful and to also feel like you belong, right? So a lot of people who feel powerful feel like the black sheep of the family or feel like they stand out, or they're in communities like this where we know our power, we understand there's a higher power, we're listening to the universe through the numbers, and as a result, we feel like we don't belong in the greater whole. Well, the journey here this year is to work towards a greater sense of belonging. And if we can't really belong in the outside world, if we're not going to belong everywhere, which we're not, no one belongs everywhere. But the innate desire in the body to belong is real. That is something happening in the body. We don't turn that off. We don't say, you don't need to belong. That's silly. Suppress that. Don't belong. Go ahead and just be all powerful, right? We get narcissism, we get dysfunction, or I only need to belong. Don't worry about your personal power. Now I'm an extreme empath and I'm giving myself away. Both of these things result in illness, decay, loss, more trauma, all of that. So we don't want that to be escalated this year, and that can occur in a 7 energy year of, in order to make changes, I don't belong. That challenges my body. My body's now in resistance. So we want to notice that our body has a need. And it's okay at the level of body, there are things called needs. The body doesn't understand anything different. It doesn't understand that it, can choose things or there's bigger picture. The body's like, I need this or I can't breathe, right? Like, don't hold your breath. I need air. So there are just some basic things that the body is operating with, right? So interrupting this for a lot of you, a lot of us, all of us, perhaps at some level, there's going to be an integration. This is where your personal number is going to come in. This is where your year is really going to help understand is, well, there's a couple of things. Number one, if you guys don't know what quantum expansion is, Q is a technique that I have been teaching for the last 3 or 4 years. And it's all about cultivating an awareness of belonging. That's one of the primary functions of it, and our connection to our personal power. So bringing both of those things in. So we're going to be cultivating that from within, from ourself. Ourself is the only one that can help the body belong. When the body hears the message from ourself, when the voice that's listening says, you belong, I love you, you belong, and you can trust me, and I am the power moving through your body. Use this power to create your life story. When the body knows this, when the body feels this from your higher self, it no longer looks for it outside of you because it's getting what it needs. As long as its needs are met, it doesn't need the physical world to do it. So if you meet the needs, your higher self, I hope you really hear this. I think I'm talking to me. We all hear this. When I meet the need, when I say you belong, when I say I love you, when I say bring the power in, I have this power, all this energy is flowing through me. I tap into the power of the divine universe, the infinite power that is infinitely larger than the material world. When I tap into that and let my body remember it has access, my body seeks for nothing outside of me. This is the journey, right? This is the power of that. So just to sort of summarize, we're expanding. We're expanding our awareness of our true self. That's happening globally. We're learning to develop the characteristic of integrity, which has the trust, courage, truth, and faith, all of that creating this integrity, this inner grit, an inner ability that inspires innovation and change. It will allow you to really innovate your life for your bigger truth, your purpose. It'll give you the meaning you need in order to create and be a functional, healthy, wealthy part of this world, because you belong and have power from another world, from an expanded version. So all of this is happening next year. I feel like I don't even need to go into the deep dive of the whole year if we just understood that aspect. This is the power of understanding the universal number. It has an intention for us. And based on our journey and where we are collectively, the context we're living in, we have the opportunity right now to take a leap of faith like none we've ever seen. So I'm really excited about this new year. So let's look at the individual numbers. So let's start. If you're in a 1 energy year, then you'll likely feel, I just need a sip of water here. Yeah, doing it is another thing. I'm just looking at this comment. Sounds so easy, but dang, what a leap, right? Well, let's talk about that. What does help our leaps? We're not, in this body, you're not going to stand on one side. You're not going to stand on the north rim of the Grand Canyon and leap to the south rim. That's not going to happen. It's a journey. It's hours. It's many hours away from those two ends of the canyon. It is a massive leap. So recognizing that your life has been designed for many leaps, right? You take a leap and then a leap and then a leap. And if you can allow yourself the grace, the love, the patience to take those leaps, you'll end up realizing that you have the capacity to take much bigger leaps. Right? When you first start walking, you can walk across, maybe from the couch to the coffee table, right? You take these steps and that's a huge leap. But as you walk more, you can walk miles. You can walk miles and miles, and you can achieve extraordinary things. So you've got to move with the leaps. You've got to take the leap and then take the leap. And so if this year can be about, I'm willing right now to just take those leaps, then something like quantum expansion can be incredibly helpful as it fuels it comes in and shifts the dynamic of any resistance to an individual leap. When you do that, when every day you're feeling the power pouring through you, you are disconnecting from the belief that you are yesterday's energy, that you can be here right now. Today, I'm stronger than I was yesterday. Tomorrow I'll be even stronger. But today I'm stronger. And so, in this strength today, in this now, which is what Q brings to us, it brings a strong sense of now that becomes your pattern. It brings in the sense that you are this divine being that is connected to something somewhere much larger. It brings in the love and nurturance into the body. And so then you can make those continual leaps. That's how we do this. That's how I did it. How I keep doing it is incremental and so important. Absolutely the leapfrogging it. If you're going into a one energy year, you can expect that you're starting off with less information. So if you're going into a one energy year, it means that you've been letting go of things. You've been getting ready for a beginning. It's been very mercurial for you. You've been very much in the mind, thinking about what you want to do, getting excited about things that interest you, maybe learning about things you do like, things you don't like. You've been in a bit of I always think about this as like, oh, I've got this great idea and I write it out and then I erase it. Like, no, maybe this, and then you write this and then you erase it. So the one energy year is about trying things, about getting curious and cutting yourself some slack for not really knowing exactly what you're doing, but being willing to create a momentum of, I'm going to keep trying in the same direction of what I really want at a bigger level that I already know. So there is something you already know that's creating new conditions for you. So you might have a bigger intention, which is, I want to experience more wealth, more love, more connection. This is the year I want to start a family. This is the year I want to start a business. Whatever it is, you may not like, I don't know what business. I don't know what, where I'm going to start my family, whatever that is, you might not have all the conditions. You might have just this bigger vision. That's usually what happens in a one energy year, is that bigger vision wants you to then devote yourself to taking steps and seeing and not getting caught up in, does it have to be that one? Being willing to try something. Like, if I want to be healthier, maybe I'll try playing tennis and see if I like it. Maybe I'll try golfing and see if I like it. Maybe I'll try jogging and see if I like it. And then making the decision, oh, this feels like this really matches, what I want to do. I feel like this is worth it to me. Right? This feels on path and worth it to me. So there's an opening up to that new energy. But the key is the 7 and the 1 come together to be devotion. They come together and make the 8. So when you take the universal year and your personal year and you bring a composite energy, it expresses how you're going to be experiencing that year. You're going to be experiencing it with the expectation that you should know sooner than you know. So you're going to feel this need to have more answers and to bring things to completion. And if you don't, you might beat yourself up or have some challenges around this. It also means that the things that you have more solid belief in are going to happen faster. So manifestation, the 1 energy and the 7 energy together, your manifestations are happening faster. They're happening faster and faster and faster by your willingness to discover what you do commit to. So you might feel a little pressure to do that. But if you can take your foot off the gas, you can notice that the energy that you're feeling is causing you to want to move faster than's needed. And to trust that as soon as you figure it out, things will move fast enough. You don't have to move fast now. You can give yourself the grace to try things. And as soon as you know, maybe it's by April, maybe it's by June, it's going to accelerate so fast that it won't matter that you didn't know until this moment. This is so important about how the 1 and the 7 are coming together. Trust, faith, leaps, be courageous. Don't think you have to have it all figured out in the physical world. Don't think that the results have to be here in the physical world for you to be making progress. It's happening at a level of self that's higher and allowing you to then accelerate put your foot on the gas and experience manifestation very quickly. So it's just about that perception shift. I don't have to do the new thing right away. When I do it, it will happen quickly. So it's worth the playing with it, not being sure, all of that to get the thing that I really want. Because as soon as you decide and say, this is the thing I'm going for, you're going to be in it. So that's the other side of how that energy comes together. Is you're going to sort of feel this. If you make a decision in January, yep, this is the thing, I'm committed, and you're in a one energy year, and you commit to it, it's going to take on a life of its own. And then if by April you're like, man, I wish I would have tried that over there, I feel like that'd be better. You're going to have a whole lot of backtracking and undoing. So give yourself a lot of grace and a lot of space, at least for the beginning of the year, until you really know you can feel it at this higher level. All right. So let's talk about the twos. There's a lot of you going into two energy years. So let's play with this. The two energy personal year, you're going to be feeling a desire to connect and to explore support. So you're going to be feeling this. I don't know if I can take that leap because I don't know that I have everything in place. I'm not sure that I have the support I need. I'm not sure that I have the resources that I need. I need to make a decision, but I'm weighing all of these things. So there's a constant weighing of, well, if I do the thing that I want to do and I take this risk, then that means that this might happen. And I don't know if I'm going to have enough money in the bank. And I don't know if I'm going to have this person do this. And what if I have to work too many hours? And so the mind is going to be doing this like back and forth, tennis match of, awesome, you have this thing you want to do, and then you can get caught up in decision. So the two is looking for you to develop a sense of connection and an awareness that you always have what you need when you follow your heart. When you follow your higher self, you're always going to have what you need, but you may not be able to measure it. And learning to get to the truth of, how do you make a decision? Do you make a decision by the 0.99999% of reality, which is what you see, with that limited feedback? So the physical world is extraordinarily limited. It's 0.99999% of what's possible. Do you trust that feedback to make your decision, which causes massive anxiety and a lack of trust in yourself? Or do you trust the part of you? Again, that 7 is going to say, will you trust the part of you where the decision's already been made, so that you don't get caught up in indecision? It's going to be massive for the 2 energy. That 2 energy is going to say the trust is the biggest thing you're developing, so that you can make decisions based on where you trust. Do I trust the outside world, or I trust the inside world? If I trust the outside world, I'm in indecision. If you find yourself in indecision this year, you are trusting the outside world, not the inside world. And so by moving it, there actually is no choice. You know what you want to do. The choice gets made. You can feel it. You're like, oh, that's what I do. So if you're in indecision about, do I stay in this relationship, or do I want to date this person, or do I, want to make this change to my health? Do I want to make this change in my business? Do I want to partner? Right? You're going to feel the pull of wanting support. Now, what's really important here too is you're learning trust, which means you're going to attract people who you can't trust. This is my warning to all 2-year people. If you're in a 2-year, your development of trust happens rapidly when you experience relationships with people you don't trust. Now, it doesn't mean you can't trust everybody. It means if you are putting all of your eggs into a basket of, well, if I hire that person, if I bring this person in, if I partner with this person, then I'm going to succeed. I'm going to be okay. You're actually deferring your self-trust into another. You're causing it. It's not the other person. You're putting your trust and faith into someone, something outside of your experience or outside of you. You're putting it in that outside world. The universe has no choice but to disappoint you. It has no choice, because you're being developed in the faith and trust of your higher self. So it's just a noticing. If you're like, well, if I hire this person, oh my gosh, right? This is what's going to happen because I have so much faith that they can get me there. Well, they might absolutely help you, and they may be able to do that, but you won't be able to be helped because you think it's all the powers in them. So again, coming back to where's my power? Do I belong? Where do I belong? And where do I trust? So this is such a huge year. I feel like I want to have this conversation every freaking day because it can be painful when you find amazing people in the world that you want to partner with and you have deferred your trust to them. Likely they're doing the same thing to you. So then you're trusting each other and you only have partial trust in yourselves. And then that just makes it gets messy. Yeah. Yeah, so you just came out of a 2 year, so you get what I'm saying. So it's going to be more anybody who's going into the 2 year with the seven, it's going to be even more intense because the seven's like, got to trust yourself. That's the core theme. So it's going to really trigger those two. The people who are going into a universal 2, you're really going to feel it. If you're going into a 3 year, so you're going into a universal 3, the purpose of a 3 in a year is to help things get legs. Let me say this a different way. The seeds that you've been planting in the previous 2 years, the ideas that you had, the resources that helped support you getting started, it was like you were nurturing seeds. So in a 1 year, you've got a seed that's being planted. In the 2 year, you're watering that seed either with your own trust or you're watering it with other people's expectations and things, whatever you're watering it with, whatever you're nurturing it with. When we get into the 3 year, it wants to have a downpour of rain, of resources, of abundance. It wants to really shine the sun and the light and the rain and the nurturing, all of it. Your seed is being it's getting all that it needs in order to come out of the soil to be seen. It's a year of visibility. It's a year of seeing what you're creating. It's a year of, I've been working on my messaging all year. I've been, in your business, I've been working on, bringing in new clients. All of a sudden, lots of clients see you. There's a lot of referrals. Or all of a sudden, you've been working towards speaking on stages. Now the stages are like, here you go, give it a try. So you're beginning this visibility. You're really being seen. You're expanding. This year is saying, let's take a look at what you've grown, right? Let's see what this seed has brought us. And so that energy is going to be wanting to expose it. Now, again, it wants to expose it, but it wants to have you trust what's being exposed, trust what you're seeing. So that 7 energy is coming in. Now, that 7 energy creates this beautiful composite of the 10 saying, okay, we're ready to see this, but as it grows out of the soil, how will you treat that? Will you nurture it or will you say, I don't want that there? Now, I'm going to use an example, really simplistic. I think simple's always better. Imagine you're growing a garden and you see a flower that you don't love growing, and it's a dandelion. And you're like, I don't really want that in my garden because it takes over and the fruit that I'm growing won't survive. You have to be willing in a 3 energy year to take a look at what's happening and decide what you want to nurture. So you can feel this in your own body of you might notice these thoughts that you've been nurturing for the last couple of years about how you're not enough. They might rise up and cause you to not trust yourself. So anything that causes you to not trust yourself could rise up in your thinking. This could be a year of massive mental development more so than physical development. So your mental development is, here's your thoughts that have been rising up. Do you want to keep these and turn it into full-blown anxiety? Or do you want to notice those and say, you know what? I'm actually going to water and nurture the thoughts of, you're amazing. I trust you. I love you. Do you want to nurture? Where do you want to nurture? What do you want to give more exposure to? Right. So there's a lot of people who audition, to be in a singing competition, so to speak. And you want to decide what you want to give exposure to, those who've been really developing that have this beautiful voice that you want to hear, or those who have not taken, any lessons or nurtured their voice at all. Do you want that to be encouraged? Do you want to encourage not developing a skill or a trait? Do you want to be seen just because someday you're going to be there? Do you want to nurture a trait you haven't developed? No, you don't want to expand something that's not developed. You want to expand things that are ready for that growth. So it's such an important year for that 3 of being willing to say, you know what, I don't want to keep encouraging this energy. I don't want to develop that anymore. I want to develop this. So it allows you sort of a restart energy by being really aware of what's happening. Yeah. So And I love that. So last year, Christine saying you were in a 3 year, and so you had such creative growth. Absolutely. And it was in a 6 energy year. So it's this creative growth where you get to see it all. It's not happening as fast. In 2023, what you create in a 3 energy year for your personal three, it's going to grow faster. There's going to be a massive momentum to it. It will grow faster. You'll have less opportunity to interrupt things. So you'll want to interrupt it as quickly as possible. There's going to be a lot of speed next year, a lot of fast movement. So everybody's going to want to be more diligent with where they're at. Okay. So now let's look at a 4. The 4 energy year. If you're going into a 4, this is going to bring some blessing in the 7, because the 4 energy year means that you have nurtured things, you have some stability. You're going to be supported in ways that help you land into more stability. There's going to be this foundation of energy that wants to be experienced. So wherever your foundation is, whatever you've built as your foundation, in a 4 energy year, you're going to be nurturing more of it. So if you don't have a foundation in something you want, say you have a dream of being a bodybuilder, but you've never worked out a day in your life, you don't have a foundation. So your psyche and the universe is going to be moving you towards the expansion of trust and faith and belief and innovation on things you have a foundation for. It's not going to be about new things. It's going to be about, what do you have a foundation for? Let's nurture that. That's going to be easier. And that's not that we can't interrupt things anytime. You can decide, I want to quit and get rid of this foundation. It just means it might be a harder year because you're going out of the flow of the universe. You're interrupting the flow of the universe. And so you don't have the natural support of it. So totally fine. Just being aware of that. I'm not going to have as much natural support. I'm going to be sort of oil and water, so to speak. I'm going to be going it alone. The universe wants me to really cultivate my foundation. So if your foundation is the family you're in and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I don't really want to be here. Now, obviously, there are sometimes we create foundations and conditions for ourselves that are dangerous. So if you find yourself in a dangerous situation where you're in an abusive relationship or you're in an abusive condition, well, you're going to have to interrupt the universe. It just means you've created harder conditions, and that's something that we just walk through. It will shift and change, and it will be okay. But recognizing that whatever your foundation is, it's going to be easier to create more of that. So if you've created conditions that you don't really love in your foundation, well, you're going to develop the trust to move through that and to still use that foundation for something more. If you have a foundation that's working really well for you, like you've got a foundation of skills in your career, you've got a foundation of physical fitness, well, then it's a great year to commit to that and then to take it a lot higher. And you're going to find that results are going to happen much faster for you. But the challenge that's showing up again is this understanding that you're going to have to make a choice, right? You're going to have to make a choice about the things that you nurture and where you allow yourself to trust, so that you don't make yourself feel bad for not having a foundation somewhere. That by allowing the foundation to develop and trusting yourself more because of the foundation you do have, the foundation will move out into the rest of your story. The foundation will grow. More things will match that. You'll allow yourself to understand the nature of that foundational energy. Yeah, everything's going to be about that trust. So going into that, I think, Christine, you'll be going into a 4 year. So that 4 year is, well, where is the foundation that I have? What's the one I want more of? Do I have a foundation that I can lean into? Now, you might have multiple foundations. This often happens as we enter into the universal 7 year. I've got a foundation of, I'm still at this job, that I have a foundation here. I'm getting a paycheck. Everything seems good. But I also have this business that's sort of humming along. I've been putting my attention into creating clients and doing this work, and all these things are happening. So you have these two foundations. This is where the 7 year is going to make a massive, it's going to create a massive opportunity for those who are willing to choose. Do I want the foundation to grow in my career, or do I want the foundation to grow in my business? It will require a choice of building foundation structure, which means for a lot of people, there could be in this 4 energy year a decision to move, to change, to do something else, to trust yourself, to trust that you are stable and the foundation is worth pouring yourself into. It's worth building the house there. So you might have a foundation where the house is, and then you've got a foundation over here where the house could be. And are you willing to build that in the coming years? Are you willing to develop that? Is it worth the risk? And so that decision can be happening. If I'm looking outside of myself, I might want to stay at the job because there's more money potential, right? The outside conditions feel stronger. I've got all this feedback that, in 2 years, I could be, I could be running this whole place. You could have all this outside feedback that causes you to choose a foundation that you don't want. So being diligent, again, you're developing trust. Can I walk away from a foundation that feels like a sure bet for a foundation I'm not so sure about, but it's mine? It's one I trust. It's my higher truth. It requires courage. Because I promise you, no matter what your year number is, if it requires courage to do it, and it requires trust in yourself, faith in yourself, belief in yourself, it's the direction the universe is nudging you towards. It's the one that will be rewarded. So hopefully you're feeling the theme here as we continue to go, because no matter what year you're in, it just references the stage you're at in your leaping, in your journey. When you're at the 4, you're in it and you're building things. That can be a good thing, and that can feel constricting for people. The 5-year and a 7-year, if any numerologists, take a deep breath. The 5 and the 7 are a mastermind of change. They come together and say, nothing will be the same. Can you be okay with that? So there's a couple of things that happen in the 5. So I don't want to scare any people going into a 5-year. It's actually extraordinary, because what the 5 and the 7 are saying is you can have all that you want, but you will have to trust that the universe, that your higher self has your back. You will not be able to trust conditions. It will not make sense. It's a leap of faith. It's like crazy making. It's like, it feels like your whole world might be spinning, flipping, turning upside down. But guess what? Your dream is coming true. It actually is one of those years where everything can be, it's like taking a like if your life was in a can and you just shook it. It's like everything's changing. Or like those, makes me think of the snow globe. The 5 and the 7 is like the snow globe. Everything's calm and quiet. And then it's like the universe or God or source shakes the globe and says, it's snowing. The shift is there. Right. So that is happening for so many people. And this is needed collectively. We need more people to feel that, that metaphorical shifting, shaking of their lives, so that they'll say, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? It's been possible all along. I can make the changes. Yeah. Michelle, you know what I mean? But again, it always comes back to understanding the year has an intention for all of us. Personally, the reason this is happening is because it's time for your evolution. The 5 indicates that it's time for you to evolve. It's time for you to connect with life more. It's time for you to have more. Out of all the numbers in the chart, the 5 has a desire to support greater abundance. It has a desire for you to choose it. Choose what you want. Choose and have it. Whatever you choose, I'm going to spit you out of a cannon towards it. I just want to cough. I've had some really epic 5 years. So again, the direction you're headed, imagine a cannon. So you are the cannon, your life is the cannon, and you're being, or the cannonball, and you're being shot out of the cannon. The universe is just saying, let's go. Let's have the thing you choose. So careful what you choose. Know what you're choosing. Be conscious of it, right? I feel this in my own story. Can you tell? I'm with you. I'm coughing on behalf of everyone going into the 5-7 universal combination. I'm also coughing for myself. It's my shift, because there's this sense of, know what it is that you want as you go into this year. Know the direction you want to go, and then be willing to be shot out of the cannon. Be willing to move big leaps. This is where imagine, our story of you're on the north rim of the Grand Canyon. You want to get to the south rim. So just imagine these, thousands of miles, hundreds of miles. So you've got all of this happening here in the canyon, and you've made it a distance, and then you come across a helicopter company, and they're like, "Oh, I could take you the rest of the way." Imagine that, the leap. You could actually get somewhere in half the time, a third of the time. That's what the 7 does to the 5, but the 5 has to be like, "Oh, I'm a little bit scared. I've never been in a helicopter. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I've never been able to move that fast. I'm doing really good on my own. I'm, carrying all of this on the back of my donkey, and, I'm used to this slow pace." The 5 says, choose to let it go faster. Choose to have more than you've ever had. Maybe it was lack in the last few years. Maybe you didn't feel the abundance, but you've been moving towards it, and now the abundance is showing up. Say yes to it. Choose it. Choose the thing that feels risky so that you can have that experience. It's going to be, for the 5-7 combo this year, it's going to create resources that come in for the acceleration. This is tricky because you can be tempted to think the resources are doing it. You can be tempted to think it was the helicopter that solved the problem. But the helicopter doesn't solve the problem. The person, the helicopter, the experience, the resource that comes in, the bag of money that comes in to support you, that's not the thing that changes it. What changed it is all the energy internally. It was the trust, it's the faith in yourself. It's the decision to do it. It's the decision to take the easier path and to allow that to happen. That's what's actually doing it, that is causing the universe to help you converge with conditions. The conditions themselves, you could be in a different state of mind and never come across the helicopter. Why do some people have an easier path and others don't? It's a convergence of internal, unseen conditions of your higher self. Your higher self is creating it, not the helicopter, not the world. It's not luck from the outside world, it's from here. Right? So you've created the potentials this year. So everything you've done, you've created these potentials. Will you choose them? If you choose them, things get better. If you don't choose them, then you feel the frustration of that. Yeah. All right. So let's go into the 6 energy year. So we've been here. I just realized the time. So in a 6 energy year next year, so as you're moving into a 6, those of you who are tapping into that 6, you might feel the like, oh, the universal 6, it was like showing what things are, and it's love, and it's beautiful, and it's remodeling, and it's all of these things. Well, your life is about to get a real bigger boost of what is. You're about to see conditions in a bigger way. You were likely making changes last year or feeling the need to make choices about things. It was like conditions were coming in, you were seeing things, and you had to sort them. Now you've got to see the benefit of what you sorted. Here's what I created. And do I trust what I created? Now, I want to provide a good example of this to understand that it's not about trying to make you change everything. The 7's going to operate with the 6 differently. The 7's going to operate with the 6 energy personal year differently than it's going to operate with some of the other numbers. For the 6th year, for your universal year, what it's saying is, do you trust what you've done so far? And in the face of it, while the world is wanting to make all these changes, do you trust that you already have? That you're going to be a little different energy than the rest of the world, that maybe you've created conditions that now require your trust and faith when everybody else around you is making changes. So they might be saying, oh, you should take this leap of faith. You should do this new thing. You might feel that FOMO, that fear of missing out, because everyone else is like, oh, I'm going to make this big change. I'm going to go travel and do this. And I'm going over here. And you're feeling like, I don't want to travel. I want to stay here, and I want to stay focused on what's in front of me. So everyone else is inspired to be out, to be playing, to learn from the world, right? So that 7 energy year is going to cause more travel than ever, because travel teaches us to trust ourselves. Travel shows us who we are. People are going to be more connected to nature and wanting to be outside. And the 6 might be feeling some of that, but I want to do it nearby. I want a staycation. I want to be right here. There's a desire to be with what is and to nurture that. And so the greater trust isn't in abandoning any of that or leaving any of that or creating a pivot. The greater trust this year is in staying the course. Trusting yourself that you're where you need to be, trusting yourself, having faith in you, having the courage to stay when everyone else is going, having the courage to stay the course when other people want to leave, don't want to partner with you, want to change, make changes in what's happening, trust yourself to stay. It's going to be it'll be tricky because it's out of sync with the rest of the energy. It feels like an out of sync energy. It isn't, but it feels like it when you measure on the outside. I hope you're feeling the theme, right? Yeah, the six is making massive progress with what is, right? Knowing that I need to be with what is. And it's going to create this beautiful transition, right? So when we look at that, we've got the energy of the composite. So what the composite is the 7 plus the 6 creates more stability. It's actually about stability for the 6 personal year. More stability than what we saw last year, because that would not have been, it wouldn't have been a stable energy. But for you this year, it will be more stable. Things are more stable. And so your growth is right here, where it's like once you've got a plant growing in a pot, it's stable, it's strong. It's like, why would I leave? Don't repot me. I'm doing amazing. I'm being nurtured. I've got all the soil, the sun, all the things. I'm going to trust that right here, while everybody else is being repotted, that I'm good. Okay. 7, 7, 7, 7. Oh my gosh. 7 personal, 7 universal. This also creates a composite of a 5. 7 and 7 is 14. 1 plus 4 is 5. So imagine the 7 and 5 coming together and that massive choice. Well, the 7 and 7 coming together with the 5 is you're going to be playing out the conditions of the choices you've made in the past. You're going to be seeing what they are, and you're going to have to make new choices even faster. So there's going to be so much shifting and changing, so much growth and expansion. You might find that this is the year that you're all over the globe. You're like, I'm traveling here and I'm traveling there, and then I want to do this, and then I want to start that. And they all fit somehow. Everything sort of goes with the journey, and you have to trust that you might feel it as a bit of a chaos in your story. Your life might feel chaotic. There's so many opportunities. There's one here, and there's one there, and I can do that, and I can do that. And you might feel like you need to choose between them, and yet you're really being asked to choose to be able to experience it all. That this is temporary, and you can make a lot of progress right now by trusting that you can do these things, that you have the courage, you have the ability, you have the strength, the staying power, you can be connected at these levels. You're inspiring more of a connection to what's next, a connection to your own story, to the growth. What you've learned now wants to be taught. So it's being focused into the expression of wisdom that wants to be all over the place. So it can feel like a chaotic year where you really are, the demands can feel high. You can feel like you've got to go here, and then you've got to go there, and then you've got to do this, and you've got to have that. You're starting to feel what's possible for you. You're feeling the conditions of possibility. You're feeling like, yes, I can have that business and this other one. Yes, I can make progress on my fitness goals while I'm also CEO of this Fortune 500 company. I can also do this. Like, you're noticing all of these things, and you're choosing to express more. You're choosing to express more of you. You're choosing to expand and become, right? Become more of your higher self. It's a really powerful energy, but it will tempt you. Temptation will be really big here. It'll tempt you to think you can't achieve it next year. And of course, your individual charts are going to play a role, right? I mean, I'm generalizing here. So take the pieces that really resonate from that higher level of understanding. You're going to be influenced to think you can't do it all. And you can't do it all, but you can do a lot more than you've given yourself credit for. You can do a lot more than you did last year. You can do a lot more than you did yesterday. You actually are capable of way more. Your body is stronger. Your mind is stronger. Your heart is stronger. You have all of this capacity. You're becoming aware of this bigger self that can channel energy and information and a pathway for you. Okay. It's a big energy. Those 7 sevens. Whew, there you go. Now, what about, so Debbie, oh my goodness, watch out. It's going to be a big year for you, and you'll love it. You really will love it. If you can trust, again, come back to, can I trust me? Do I trust me? Do I have the courage to do it, to see it through? Will I let myself develop more trust and courage? Will I trust that higher truth? Will I pay attention to the higher truth? Will I have faith in me? Where is all of that? If it's in the external world, you're going to get stopped in indecision and maybe not take all those opportunities. And that's okay too. None of these things are about getting it exactly right. It's just knowing you're being influenced so that you can have some growth. You're not being influenced so you do all of the opportunities. You're learning that you can do more. That's all. You don't need to seize them all. You're just learning that you can do them all. All right. Oh, good. You're going into that 6th year. Oh, it'll be so fun. I think the 6th year and the 7 is going to be a nice one if you're willing to. I mean, all of them will be beautiful if you're willing to really seize those traits, let those traits within you grow. The 8 energy. So we're almost there. We've got 8 and 9. So if you're going into an 8 energy year, personally, in that 7, you're going to love it because it's just going to ask you to take bigger leaps of faith on the path you're on. So what you're doing is getting ready to reach its peak. It's the fuel to get it done. So the dream you've been moving towards, the business you've been building, the goals that you've been setting, the journey you've had towards what's next, you're getting ready to complete a cycle. And so you have the energy to complete it. But in a 7 universal year, it means you're being given a little extra nudge to get it done. It's very much like the cannonball energy where you've got a lot of motivating fuel to get you there. But in order to do it, you're not going to do it without your own development. You won't just naturally, just because you're in an 8 energy year, your dreams just magically come true. In fact, an 8 energy can be really hard if you think that's what will happen. If you think that things will just reach completion, you're going to have a challenge. And that's because you're being asked to bring not only what you're working towards in the material world to completion, you're being asked to complete a cycle of any energies of mistrust, any energies of being passive and not courageous, any energies where you have been using the world as your source of trust, your ability to complete a cycle of letting that go is happening, and letting go of having faith outside of you, really having faith in you. These are the traits that need to come to a completion in your cycle. You must embody them to fulfill the dream that you have. That the universe is not supporting you achieving things that have you putting faith outside of you. So there's going to be, I think, a little bit of disruption for people who are used to things just working out and thinking this should just work out. That's going to be disrupted. If you know, of course things are going to work out, but I'm a component of that. And my component of that is knowing where I put the direction of my thinking and feeling. What am I putting my faith in? Right? Really, really leaning into that 7. And then looking at it from the perspective of, as you're leaning into that, I think this is going to be very much like the 6 energy, because you're feeling that 6 energy come into the composite of, oh, I can let conditions unfold when I lean into that trust. I don't actually have to work that hard. So if you find yourself in the energy of overwhelm, I must do this, I must work hard, I have to keep going, this 8 means that I've got to do, that's going to create a challenge. It's going to have a hard time getting there. This shouldn't be a busier year than usual. It should be a steady year. And a steady year of, the more I trust myself, the more the conditions happen for me. That life actually brings them in. You've got this beautiful composite 6 coming in saying, I will actually deliver amazing magical results if you focus your devotion on your trust, your courage, the truth that's flowing through you, not in front of you, and your faith in you, not the world. If you're devoted to that, well, I'm just going to make this easy for you. So overwhelm, if you find yourself in overwhelm, develop those traits, focus on those traits. Yeah. All right, last one. If you're going into a 9 and a 7, well, you can expect conditions to rapidly change, for things to happen around you and in the world, for the universal energy of 7 to disrupt your old story. So anything you're holding on to in the old story, it's going. The 9 shows up and says, we're going to end anything that's connected to your faith outside of you. This can be for those of you who use tarot or are familiar with tarot. It can be a tower card kind of year. And again, not scary. It just says, we got to complete this. This cycle must complete. You've got to stop putting your faith in the outside world. You got to stop this not trusting yourself, this belief in yourself. You got to stop feeling like you don't belong. Like this isn't working for you anymore. This pattern of deferring all of your power to leaders, to partners, to family, to anyone outside of you. The deferment of your power, the deferring of your trust, of your faith, of your belief, not knowing you belong from the inside, enough already. The people, the conditions, where you've been looking, all of that is going to be disrupted. So this 9 energy year, you're going to start feeling it going into December. If you're going into a 9 energy year, you're going to be feeling it pretty quickly of, oh shoot, there are things that I have just been putting faith into that need to go away. And it can be subtle or they can be big. And so as you're looking out into the world, you're also going to be drawn towards things happening collectively. You're going to be a group of people that sees the collective disruption as well, maybe a little bit more than others. You're going to see what's coming to a close. You're going to see what the world has had faith in that isn't working. It will expose you to the truth at a level of not being able to unsee it. Right. So it can be shocking in a 9 energy year when the universe is in a 7 energy year, because it just creates these shocking experiences. It creates this experience of, I can't unsee that. I can't unknow it. The 9 is a reflector of the truth in general. And it's reflecting a 7 universal year, which is all about the reflector of truth. And guess what? The world around you in the physical world don't got it. The truth isn't out there. The truth is somewhere else. The truth, no one person has a truth that they can speak with words. No one person has a truth they can live. It's something that can only be felt and experienced. You can't really speak it, right? I can't tell you what truth is. I can point you to where it is. It's not in the world. And then you can commune with that truth and act on behalf of it. That's really what's possible. So that 9 energy can be incredibly life shifting. It can be one of the biggest gifts, because as you reach this, what the universe is saying is, I love you so much that I want to be with you through this change. And I want to help cut ties with the past with you. I want to help you really, you must evolve, right? You must evolve. And so let's do that. And so if you have resistance to that evolution, it can be painful always, right? I don't belong, or I don't have power. I need to get power and belonging outside of myself. I'm going to resist the endings. So if I get power from my relationship, if I get power from people outside of me, if I get belonging from them, I'm going to be really afraid to let a relationship end. I'm going to be really afraid to let a career end. I'm going to be afraid to let someone move on to the next life because I don't think I'll be okay without them. So this can be a very big year for so many people because it creates just the disruption you need. It's just for you and for the collective. But we get exactly what will inspire a separation from the past so that you can live in the truth, which is, it is only now, and now you can do more. And if you weren't aware you could do more, you must become aware. It's an awareness year. It actually has nothing to do with the physical conditions. It's about a radical, simple awareness. You are now, and now you are more than you know. Now you are more than what you believe you were. Now you're capable of more, and it's time to step into it. You can't be in illusion and denial. You can't pretend you're something you're not. You must see it now, right? So it's radical acceptance, radical seeing, radically moving forward with who you are right now. No more past, no getting caught up in the future. The 9 says you are here now. Take the action now, be here in the now with what is, and shift your life. Powerful year. I love it. Whatever number you're going into has been perfectly orchestrated for your journey. And you'll know that it's where you are. It's what's happening for you. The universe is loving you. God is loving you. Source is loving you and saying, let me help you with this psychological patterning. Let me bring this. Numerology was brought in as a pattern to help you experience more peace in these changes. So I love it. Oh my goodness, everyone. All right. I hope you have a beautiful day. Let me know how this lands for you, what you loved and what you're looking forward to in your new year. And then I'd be curious, so often we pick a word for the year. And I wonder if this inspire, if you're thinking about your year, if you were to choose one of the words, one of those traits as your word of the year, what might unfold? The moment we focus on, I'm going to build that trust, or I'm going to build that integrity, or I'm going to build that faith, whatever that is. If you were to choose one of those words and you were to focus on that, what might unfold in your journey? What's your greatest takeaway from your year, from what's coming next? Oh, I love that. Yeah. Trust, faith. Yeah. Imagine having oodles more. Imagine having 10 times the trust you have right now at the end of the year, what that would do for your whole story, or faith, or love. Yeah. Thanks, everyone. All right. I'm going to head off to what is next. I loved this conversation. Thanks for listening in and being a part of creating this space with all of us here in Numerology Junkies. Remember that in this space, you can connect with so many of the master numerologists here, connect in, get a reading, connect in with them, work with them for the year. There's so many people here that can guide you in that experience. Learn numerology if you want. We just reduce the price of learning quantum numerology. So if you haven't seen that, go take a peek. I did that because I love you and I want all of us to trust ourselves more. So, and I love to teach and I love to share. So thank you all so much for being here. I look forward to connecting with you in future conversations, and bye for now.